Well, hey everyone, it's Marcus, and welcome back to more Zooming from Bali. I'm heading back to Australia today, where I'm talking to the king of television. He's also a major theatre star. Please, everyone, welcome Peter O'Brien. Peter, how are you?
Good, thank you very much. And after that introduction, I don't know what to say, really.
Oh, well,
It's
you know
like
what? I've got more
we
compliments
just
coming your way because I've got something to tell you. When I found out I was going to be doing an interview with you, I kind of did melt a little bit because I did confess I had a major crush on you back in the 80s in the Neighbours day. Now,
wow, that's incredible. Now that hang on, that's back then. What happened? What went wrong? Where did
what went wrong? Well,
what happened?
I'm going to tell you another thing. So back in the 80s period, I did have my hair was the love child of Shane Ramsey, Scott Robinson, and of course Henry Ramsey. That's who I modeled my hair vibes on. These days, I mean, obviously I've gone a bit more Charlene, but what can you do?
No, that's right. Well, so like um affectionately that was sort of termed the mullet then, but
Exactly.
I used to call it the rocket. That's what it was. So we used to call it the rocket, and it was and everybody kind of started. I don't know really. There was various kind of names that we gave it. We sort of the affectionate name was the rocket. At one stage, it was known as the toilet brush.
Yeah,
Because
I remember. I remember.
yeah, but we didn't. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether that was. So to be really honest with you, it was. I don't know what was going around at the time with hair, what people were doing. I don't know.
Yeah,
But I know that the people I were working with decided that that was a look.
yeah,
And,
it was.
and yeah, and I wasn't so au fait with what was happening out there, but I know that it's certainly like it was almost like one of those days I was walking around and I went, oh, everyone looks like me with that hair. And it was like, and I remember when I went, so when I left Neighbours, which was after a year, and I went to the UK to work,
Yep.
I walked in and the first thing that I got an agent, and the first thing my agent said to me is, we get rid of the hair. So it's like, bang, it's gone. And I was like, oh, okay, there goes. And it was, and now, there was a period of time where you may have experienced this as well. There was a period of time sort of in the 90s or after that where everyone was dishing on the mullet, that through.
Uh-huh.
And I just know people would look at photos and go, oh, look at the hair, bang. Now, when people look at the photos, they go, cool, because that hair is back.
Back, baby, it's back. Hey, I was just talking to Craig McLaughlin a couple of weeks ago on another show that he was doing at the time. And I asked him in regards to the Neighbours days, who was your best mate on the show? And he pulled out a name that I didn't see coming. It was, of course, Vivian Grey, who played Mrs. Mangles. And he said she was the cheekiest, funniest woman that he'd ever met and gave him a run for his money in regards to being, the radical. Who was your best mate on the show?
Well, I had a particularly strong, so I only actually got to work with Craig, I think literally almost like one day. It was kind of like he wasn't, we had one day where we were in the same scenes together. Even though he took over my overalls that I had and hair. But but the person, I mean, I was really close with obviously there's I like Stefan, I was him, but the person I was closest with was the guy that played my father, which was Max Ramsey, and
Yeah. Yep.
who was a genuinely, and bless him, he's passed now, he's gone, but um he he was a genuinely eccentric guy, like totally really eccentric, and spoke with the plumbest sort of accent that you'll ever come across, and not as opposed to the deep kind of Ocker one that he had on the show.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was, and for some reason, because him and I got along, like if you ever speak to any of the other cast or any of the directors from that time, they'll tell you the same story, is that he was almost undirectable in all of his stuff because he was just, off on a tangent the whole time. I mean, he was deeply eccentric. And he used to, so I had the job and when every scene that we were in was making sure he finished up on camera. Or we got so I was almost like a a blue heeler, a kelpie. We'd start the scene and they'd have three cameras and the microphones, and they would just one microphone was on him just to chase him around, the other one was on me trying to get him back into camera shots so as we could get the scenes.
Yeah.
And we and he lived near me, and he was wild in the sense that he'd knock on my door at 3 a.m. in the morning and say, um, he had this read. I just ate at this restaurant until like midnight, 1 a.m. and what I was eating was marvelous. And he'd knock on my door at 3 a.m. and there he'd be on his bike and he was going, I had some for you. I left some, and you go, it's 3 a.m., Francis. And you go, yeah, have it for breakfast. And you go, and then off he'd cycle on his bike.
I love
So
it.
yeah, and he was like a lot of eccentrics when they feel like you're sort of in their confidence, when you're not judging them,
Yeah.
right? They really open up to you and you get to see, I think, potentially the real side of them that is more to be that people judge as being eccentric, but you get to see what I'd see as the clever side of them.
Yeah.
So he would be privy to that. And I was, I learned a lot from him, but he was fun. So I spent a lot of time with him,
That's
but I've actually got a photo on my phone here of the very first day on Neighbours at Channel 7.
yeah. Wow.
Um,
That's mad.
and which was at Channel 7 in South Melbourne, and then it got axed by 7 and it went to 10. And it was so on the very first day that we're in the studio, I have a photo of myself just sitting on one of these sets with a lot of the crew, and it's pretty wild, and it's like um, and so that was it, and then I just went on to work on other things with a lot of the crew and a lot of those guys. A lot, those people are still friends, and I went back for the end of Neighbours, and
Yeah.
and, uh, and Steph Dennis was on set, and we were in the scene, and because Stefan and I, we haven't actually looked it up, and somebody can look it up now, but I know we were definitely Stefan, the guy that played Danny, my brother, and myself. We were definitely in the first sequence, and Max Ramsey, and we haven't followed up on it, but Steph thinks that I was the first person you saw. I thought it was my brother, and other people think it was Steph. So one of the three of us was the first person you ever saw,
Yeah.
and so I sort of wandered up behind him and gave him at the end of the shooting, which was only on Friday. This Friday we
Wow.
finished, and I gave him. I just snuck up behind him and gave him a hug and gave him, a kiss on the cheek, and I went, day one, buddy, to day whatever it is, because I just popped in for the end,
Yeah.
and uh, and that got him, that sent him, that broke him up. He was just like, wow, and he made a speech, and he was referencing, like, and you went, yeah, he it just hadn't dawned on him that somebody. I mean, he's been there, a long time. I mean, I've probably spent a year and a half on the show overall, over the whole time.
Yep.
Um, But it suddenly dawned on me that there was someone there, and I reminded him of the conversations that we had on the first day, which was when I said, "How long do you give it?" And he said, "Oh," I said, "No." I said, "How long do you give it?" And he said, "How long's the contract?" And I said, "Well, it's 6 months with a 6 months option."
Yeah.
And he
Wow.
went, "Yeah." He said, "I got the same." I went, "Yeah." And then he went, "How long do you give it?" And I said, "I asked you first." And he went, "3 months," he said. Uh,
Okay.
So I sold him 3 months, and he was like, and within 3 months, we were literally axed at 7, and
Yeah.
then we were bought by 10, and then we started there the next year. So we're on air for 5 months at Melbourne at Channel 7. But yeah, but that was pretty, it's pretty wild, and
Crazy times.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we went around, so and it's been the travesty for me about it was not 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 the regardless of what you think good or bad or whatever the show, the tragedy of thing for me is this, is that when we started that show, which was we were part of the television industry in Australia. But
Yeah.
at that stage in Melbourne, you had 7, 9, 10, ABC, all had studios in Melbourne producing drama. You also had Crawfords and Grundys that were producing drama. Plus you had all the theatres and all the Kennedy Millers came around those time making and there was features, and Australia was having this, wasn't the golden age of our time, 70s probably was, but you went, wow, there was so many productions.
Mm.
And when I know it was Amazon had Neighbours and was being still being aired on 10, but that was the end. That was the last television series being made in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And outside and now and outside of that, there's only one more, and that's Home and Away.
Yeah. Yep.
That's in Australia.
Yep.
There's other television shows being made, but what I'm deeming as a television show is a show that goes out for more than four, a series. Series television is, like 40 weeks a year or longer than 26 weeks a year.
Holy frick.
There's
Yeah.
only one left, and that's Home and Away. And you're like, wow. And Melbourne, was probably home to 30 back then at that time. There was just, and you go, that was the sad thing to me as I looked around all of the people there, some of them who've been working on it literally almost from day one.
Yep.
And it's their whole lives, and it was a job, and they loved it, and they were still as passionate and everything as they went in it. But there were some other people there who were just at the beginning of their careers, or in front of the camera and behind it.
Yep.
And I went, where do, where's the next thing that they go on to, where they get the opportunity to work thoroughly and creatively, and to start to get some security. You never get security, but longevity in their practice, in their, what is there? And I was like, that was a sad thing to me because we were looking at all these studios, and the studios are magnificent, out there. They're still like the old school studios. I like backstage on a theater. You look at it, it's all ropes and sets and lights, and you're looking at it going, and it's really kind of it's a magical kind of creative space.
Mm.
Like you go to your creative space where you are now, and but in as far as working in this profession, when you walk into some of those studios or you walk into a theater, you go, right, you suddenly realize, well, this is my fulfillment. This is my purpose is to walk into this and I'm fulfilling my purpose. And
Yeah.
I really I still want to keep doing that. But then you look at and you go, I just look at some of these people and I go, how do you get, where is that opportunity now for them? And I just felt it was really sad because this will be the end for a lot of those people. And you
Jesus,
went,
Peter, you're showing your caring side. I really like this. You know what? You're very intelligent and you're incredibly passionate. And I love that. And it obviously shows that you love this career, you love this industry. So credit.
yeah, I do. I love this. I really do because I'm a huge belief in culture and that it is a vibrant living organism in every community that we live in and there are many different cultures and because a culture is when a collective group of people come together and they have the same vision, same thought, whatever, and they move forward with it, and culture to me is something not only in the arts, but in everything that we do. I think as a society, it tends to get dismissed. And I don't, it is what makes us human. It is what makes us able to connect, and never be a tourist, always be a guest. You go into somewhere and I always go and look at other cultures and learn from it. I learn by observing and living and being given the opportunity to live in other cultures. I'm able to learn about them and myself at the same time and grow. And I just, the arts is the arts, but it is a culture and it's a breed. And the people who work in it, the collective mindset of coming towards this ultimate goal
Mm.
is fantastic. It is because quite often in the arts, when you're working in it, you never get to see the end result because you work on this thing, you throw everything into it and then it goes off into another group of a part of that culture of people that work on it. And
Yep.
you're left there going, and if you're lucky, you get to see it when it either goes to air or goes on the screen, or if you're involved in it when you're on the stage. And I go, but it never change. Everyone takes great pride in it. And if you don't take great pride in your culture, people fall out of it pretty early. Those people are pushed because it's not for them.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I do. I really, particularly now as we move forward in this, yeah, in as yeah, you're well aware of it, as everyone talks about AI and where we're going and all that kind of world. I really think that what we should be talking about ethically as we go forward now is not how much this can save money, people economically, but how it can, that human experience, that what is the purpose of being human? How do you get that fulfillment?
Definitely.
And yeah, and that's what I think the arts, because of it, because of the culture it breeds, brings to us. People talk about it holding, reflecting a thing up to a mirror to society. Well, it does in a way, but it also is the part of the society that's moving forward, the zeitgeist. And I love that, and that's why I cherish that part of our life. And it certainly has that part of the industry. It certainly has helped me to grow, and you had a lot of fun along the way.
Of
Hopefully that
course
fun,
you did.
that fun will continue. Yeah, but that stays in the vault.
Maybe that's a whole nother episode that we can do another day. But you know
See,
what? You're absolutely
now
right.
what you're supposed to do now is you're supposed to hypnose me,
Yeah.
and then you go, the vault is opening. The
You will
vault is
give me
opening.
that information. You will give me that information. Hey, Peter, but you're dead right. All these tools, technology, all this kind of stuff that goes on in the world is just, the surface level stuff. We need to make sure that that foundation is being human, because if it's the other way around, we're going to lose our place in the world. Being human is what the foundation should be, definitely.
Right. And I think, if I exactly. I absolutely agree with you. And we have to learn. This is what I've learned in my life. We have to learn to celebrate the difference between people rather than judge them and run down. And I love celebrating the difference, because if you celebrate the difference between people, whatever they're, and all the various things we have in our life, you become so much richer and life is so much better, and I just think and that's one of the things I love about the arts, is because of the fact that, there you get on set and people and we have arguments, you do, and, and you get in everything. But then you walk away from it and you go, and you consider their opinion. And then you come back and you go, or they'll come back and you work your way through. I'm not saying it's all, like very Zen at the same time, but there is in the purpose of building this culture, which everyone believes in, which is in the creative arts industry.
Yep.
um, I think ultimately it's so productive, and it is such a necessary process of our societies.
You know what? We are going to start a brand new podcast. It's going to be called Being Human with Peter and Marcus.
That's it. I'm happy. I'm there. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I'd love to do it. Really, because
Oh,
I've been doing it. It's outside of the stuff that I do. My acting stuff. I went back to uni which I've been going to uni, but I've been doing. I did an honors degree in motion capture and AI for this very reason, and I was doing a PhD, which I've had to suspend while I'm doing this tour. But I was, because of this very thing, what I was trying to look at was the biological algorithms supplied by humans, those innate, unique functions of a human that we respond to, um, on screen, and what we can provide. So what we observe and what we provide, and it's a lay down Missouri. It's a no-brainer. The fact that humans are far better than robots at this, and it's like, but we have to make everyone recognize that and get rid of, and as an industry go, don't let the big money techs talk
we
or
need
dominate.
to navigate this, maneuver our way through it, and found our place in the world and find our place in the chaos as well.
In the
Hey,
chaos. That's probably episode one,
yeah,
finding
yeah. I'm
our
liking where
place
we're
in the
going.
chaos.
We're brainstorming some ideas now, Peter. Hey, you just mentioned the word tour. We haven't even mentioned what the tour is all about yet, but excitedly, I mean, aside from, the other stuff that we love to talk about, the other thing that we are meant to be talking about is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, which is currently touring Australia. It is hitting Adelaide at Her Majesty's Theatre from the 2nd to the 16th of August. Fortunately, I'm going to be back in Adelaide for opening night. Yay. And I'm so totally coming back to your dressing room, and we're going to talk more about this shit called life. Um, but
We'll be joined by a lot of my fellow cast members on it, like they will be happy to join in this conversation, and we might find ourselves left behind. They might just take over from us.
hey, you know what? I'm one of the cast members in the show, Nicholas Hamence from The Sound of Music, the
Yeah,
original movie
yeah.
Sound of Music.
He was a Von Trappy. He was
Yeah,
one of the original Von
exactly.
Trapps.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
Robyn
yeah.
Nevin, of course, is the director who is, famed for Mousetrap. I mean, just incredible. How excited are you for And Then There Were None?
Look, great. It was an opportunity which came up at the start of the year. We rehearsed it in Melbourne for 5 6 weeks, five not 5 weeks, and then we did played 6 weeks in Melbourne. We've been to Sydney, we've been to Perth, and now, as you say, we're coming to Adelaide. Um, I hadn't I realize that at the moment there is a real interest or thirst for particular murder mysteries. There's all those movies like Knives Out and The Menu and all those things that have been out there. So there is a real interest revival in those sort of things. And also at the same, so I was curious to see this play was written in 1940. It's obviously been, spruced up a bit. I think it's Agatha Christie's most popular novel that she wrote. I think it's either the fifth or sixth most read novel in the world and translated. It translated in multiple different languages. So it's certainly very popular amongst the world as we go. And I was curious because I thought I've worked with Robyn before, and she's a great director, and she's I have a huge amount of respect for her and get along. And I hadn't worked with Nicholas before, but I'd met him because him and Robyn are partners. They have been for a long time. And there's a couple of the cast members, Anthony Phelan I'd worked with, and Grant Pirro, sorry, who is actually another Adelaide boy as well. I was, it was going to be a short shot. There's a cast of 10, 11 in this thing. So I knew it was going to be a really intense rehearsal. But I was curious to see how audience would go on two levels. You've got two sort of people who are coming to see the play. There's the audience that have read the book and so familiar with the story. And I'm going, if you've read the book, then but those people are the biggest responders to it in the sense that they want to see how you do this.
Yeah.
And and it's and they're always thrilled with it. And even, like they're trying to work it out. And then there's the other side who love this particular genre, who come along and go, right, we want to be entertained and enthralled by this. But then the other side of it, as we're getting, is the people who love theatre or who either know certain people who are in it and come to see it. And for them, it is also a wonderfully entertaining and intriguing evening because we get to the curtain goes up and down a few times in the show, so we get to hear the audience as they in between scene change and they are always talking about, well, how did they do that, or who did it?
Wow.
And it's like, and you go, right. So I found that the audience really listen. They're really entertaining, and it's like there's a lot of suspense in it, and there's a lot of humor, which is very, very Agatha Christie. She was a very
Brilliant
I,
writing.
yeah. I just saw a doco on Agatha Christie, which was narrated by David Suchet, who played all the Inspector Poirot stuff and all the things. Agatha Christie went to Hawaii to learn to surf at one stage, and
No
I'm thinking,
way.
no, as a female at that time, going to, and there's, there's, I think there's some photographs of her, she's, I don't know what she would have been, not in quite middle age, early 30s or something, or middle 30s. she went to Hawaii to learn to surf as a female there.
I
And I just
love
thought, yeah, I know it was so brilliant, and I was like, because that's just not what you would expect from this English, authoress of all this. You'd think, oh, well, maybe she was a little stitched up. Not at all. She was out there. Like she's like going out in the longboards at Waikiki and all those places learning to surf. And there was a guy who knew something about it. You can watch this doco. And he said, yeah, she nearly drowned, but she just kept going out. She loved it. But so she has this tremendous sense of and that comes through in her writing of intrigue, spirit, and almost cheekiness and naughtiness in her thing. And the play has a bit of that. There's definitely an irreverence in it. And what I like about the play as overall is I think thematically and from a moral point of view, it raises the question that we all have the choice in our life, regardless of your socioeconomic demographic. When you're presented with a right and a wrong, we all have that choice,
Yes.
and that's it. And what decides people to make the right or the wrong decision? And she gives everybody those opportunities, whether they make the right or the wrong ones in the play. But it really, it's a deeper, it doesn't go really, deep into it, but it does enable you to have a deeper conversation with yourself about choice.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Oh,
Every,
well, it can
make
only
sure,
disappoint you now.
everyone, make sure you rush out, get tickets. Tickets still are on sale. Her Majesty's Theatre, and then there were none. Hits Adelaide 2nd to the 16th of August, obviously 2025, everybody. Hey, I got to ask you, I mean, it's obviously been a while since you lived in Adelaide, but when you do come back to Adelaide, what is one of the things that you love doing?
Well, look, I've owned a house in Adelaide up till beginning of this year, which
Okay.
is and I'd had. So, but I mean, apart from the cliched things of uh, like catching up with friends and family, we do that sort of stuff. But I'm a big beach guy, so I'm always in the water. Like in whether it's from the local beaches to down south to go surfing and to those sort of things. So, 'cause I love the ocean. That's kind of the ocean is my mistress.
Oh.
That's that's
That
it's
way
my
you're
lover.
in
That
trouble.
is. Yeah, yeah. And so I always tend to do that because there are places where I learnt to surf and where I had, like I taught surfing at one stage in South Australia back when I was at uni. So, but my what I really love about Adelaide, and what I love about is I love discovering the new things that are happening. So whether it's from a bar or a restaurant to a building or to like whether it's a new theatre group that's open or whether it's to um, I just whatever something is new because I love to see how a city that you grew up in and that you formed and that is still in your heart very much, like I'm still South Australian resident as such, you go, how it is evolving, how it is keeping itself in the relevant. I particularly love talking to people when I go there who are, passionate people who are passionate about South Australia, but also passionate about what they do. And that's what I find. That's what I gravitate towards is people who are passionate. Now, that's why I say things like people that are new stuff, because you find these people are passionate, and you go there. So passion is obviously something, and I really enjoy that. I really find that people who are passionate, challenge themselves and they're interested in new things and they're curious. And and I find when I go to Adelaide, that's what I gravitate towards. That's what I see. Because the moment I catch up with people that I know who are also like-minded, they will tell me something. We'll go bang, off we'll go. We'll go check it out. I went to bar. Well, I've been going to Bar Peripheral, back when I've been back there, which is a great little play, and I just love it. It's my favorite. It's like it's this little bar, and I check out as many restaurants and like think just and go see as I said, new theatre groups. Go talk to all the people who are making films and TV, whatever that, just to to tap into that creative vibe and to get into it. And I get a real sense of it. There's a relatability to me because being from there, I get a great sense of pride because I can relate to that endeavor, to that growth that people do. And and I've been doing my degree was being done through Flinders Uni. That's where I'm doing it. So I'm still, right, fully connected with it. But yeah, I'm originally from the country in South Australia, so I go up there, and that's always a real buzz because you know when I go back I catch up with people I went to school with, who are still there, and it's really interesting because we relate on whatever their life is at the time, but there's a curiosity from pretty much all of them wondering about where my life is, and I find that we are very defensive of each other. We protect each other, we look after each other, and I really like that. It's like you can. There's a great sense to be able to walk around someone and feel familiar and safe and know that that you're accepted. I mean, there were times in my life growing up in Adelaide when I was seeking this adventure that I was on, that 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 people that certainly weren't threatened by it, but people were like, they judged you on it or were curious as to why you were doing that. They didn't understand that it was an innate, desire that's what you set you off on. That's what you want to do. But now they do because I never judge them. I never judged anybody for what they do or what they shoot. Just and and then suddenly when they realize that it is you and it's curious, and so when I go back to Adelaide, that's the long and the short of it. The people that I hang out with, that I gravitate towards, always curious people, and we go out and we just always looking at how Adelaide is evolving.
Peter O'Brien,
So,
you are a top freaking guy. Like seriously, I love your conversation. Where you go, where you have taken this interview is just like incredible. And I want to say thank you. I'm grateful and I'm very
my
grateful.
pleasure. Thanks
Um,
for taking the time, and anytime I'll be. Let's catch up again. Do another
Definitely.
chat.
Well, when you hit Adelaide, we are totally going to do a coffee or that bar or somewhere. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy to do a coffee and come backstage,
I love
and
it.
you'll be and yeah, certainly look forward to seeing you there, and anybody else that comes. But I look forward to catching up with you.
And then there were none, everyone. Her Majesty's Theatre, 2nd to the 16th of August. Get your tickets now, and you can see Peter O'Brien in action on the stage. Thanks, Peter. You have a great day.
Same to you. Bye bye.